Threshold training has been proven to be one of the most effective methods of training for distances from 5K all the way up through to marathon. To measure your threshold in running, we use heart rate, and then we split it into zones, typically 5 zones, with threshold sitting in zone 4. One way to calculate this is using your maximum heart rate and then working out the percentages. And just to give you a quick recap, here are the numbers. Zone 1 is 50 to 60% of your maximum heart rate. Zone 2, 60 to 70%. Zone 3, 70 to 80%. Zone 4, 80 to 90%. And Zone 5, 90 to 100%. Now, another way to calculate your zones and more accurately is to actually find out your threshold first. Now, that might sound really complicated, but it will end up giving you really accurate numbers to work on. And before we explain how you can do that, I think we should look at a little bit more of exactly what threshold is and why it's so important. Threshold is often also interchanged with the word lactate threshold, meaning kind of the same thing, but it basically means that your body is producing lactate at a rate that it can still metabolize it at. Basically, it's the level of lactate found in the blood when you are working at a high intensity that can be maintained for a long time, in theory, up to an hour. This specific number does vary for everyone, and the only way to accurately measure it is in the lab. But don't worry, for the sake of finding your threshold, there is a simple field test that can be done. The favourite, or should we say the most accurate, is the 30-minute field test. It's basically a 30-minute all-out run in which you need to turn up ready to work hard. You want to be well-fueled, mentally prepared, but you also need to find a flat route where you can run at a consistent pace for that duration. And once you've done your 30-minute effort, you'll have your time. You can use an online calculator to help you actually find out your threshold pace, and this will ask you to take your final 20-minute pace, because that first 10 minutes can see some fluctuations in heart rate. Remembering, obviously, you need to record your heart rate for this as well, and it'll take that 20 minutes, and the average from that pace will be your threshold pace. And going back to zones, you can then use this number to more accurately calculate them. And we talked about lactate threshold. Well, when you use it in this form, it's called your lactate threshold heart rate, LTHR for short. And the numbers for this, zone 1 fits into 65 to 85% of your LTHR. Zone 2, 85 to 90%. Zone 3, 90 to 95. Zone 4 is 95% up to 102% of your lactate threshold. And then zone 5 is above that at 102 to 110%. Obviously, these numbers can change, and when you're training, well, you hope they do in a positive direction. Now, like we said, it should be an effort that you can, in theory, sustain for an hour. And as a result, you can use races that might be up to that length to help you calculate it, or a 10K race, for example. And again, there's online calculators which you can take your race time from, put them in, and they will give you your updated zones. If you're new to threshold training, or you're inspired to go and do some after watching this video, then start with just doing 1 per week. But if you're more of a seasoned runner and you've done these types of sessions before, then feel free to do 2 per week. And there's nothing too complicated about this type of training. You're obviously going to be spending time working at that intensity, and you want it to add up to at least 20 minutes of work. And as you get more accustomed to it, you can increase that time that you're spending in that zone. Now, we've got a couple of what I would say nice sessions for you to get started with. Session 1 is 4 lots of 5 minutes at that 95 to 102% of your lactate threshold heart rate, with a 2-minute jog recovery in between each rep. And you can build this up, peaking it to 8 reps. Don't feel, though, that you always need to add a rep each week, but see how your body is responding. And an alternative session is 6 lots of 3 minutes, again at that same lactate threshold heart rate, with a 60-second jog recovery after each one. Building this up to eventually reach 10 of these, but note that that is a big session, so take your time and allow your body to adapt. And if you like the meaty end of this threshold work and you're feeling brave, then why not go for 2 lots of 10 minutes with 3-minute recovery? Or even go wild as you're building things up and getting stronger, 2 lots of 15. But remember, you've still got to maintain that pace, so only approach it when you're ready. Now, I think we've probably given you enough to get started with, so go out there and enjoy those sessions. Let us know what threshold sessions you like to do in the comments section below, and if you've enjoyed it, do give us a like.